A survey has shown that South African private sector activity expanded at its strongest rates in 9 years in April as buoyant customer demand pushed new orders higher and business confidence and employment rose. The IHS Markit Purchasing Managers Index rose to 53.7 in April from 50.3 in March, staying above the 50 level that indicates an expansion. The April headline PMI reading was the highest since March 2012. IHS Markit said firms indicated that demand had improved strongly at the start of the second quarter as markets recovered from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining us is the Pan-African Media Executive Tomi Moyan. Tomi, welcome to News Central Now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This growth is the highest that South Africa has expected, or rather has experienced, since 2012. So what do we know is leading to it, especially given that the country experienced a recession last year, also had very high unemployment numbers as well coming into the new year?
I think we'll all understand that the pandemic disrupted the economic activity last year. And what has led to this is what we have seen in the past few months, especially from February towards the last quarter of the year, first quarter of the year, and going into the second quarter, that economic activities have now improved since the hard lockdown has been eased. The economy is slowly recovering from how it has been hit by the pandemic since last year. Also, we know that from the data we have received, and which we should take seriously, we see that new businesses are on the rise. Confidence is beginning to improve, and export demand is also happening. So we'll see that firms are beginning to open up, even as they adhere to the COVID-19 regulations, but firms are ready to go back to business, and economic activities obviously will improve.
Okay, so firms are ready to go back to the business. This means more growth, but we're also seeing numbers of vacancies that have been declared in South Africa, and it seems that not all skills are available in country. Do you think South Africa will allow other Africans to apply for these jobs, even though in recent times we're seeing that one of the ministries is working to cap the number of non-South Africans in specific industries like restaurants and things like that? What do you think?
I think, as a leading country on the continent, South Africa has improved in its policy, and it's also improving in its policy day after day. I don't think South Africa as a country will shut its doors to other African countries, especially if they're bringing in skills. In fact, there are policies that are in place that skills are needed, and if you go through the right channel, you will be able to do your business, whether in the private or in the private sector. Let's stick to that. But the long and short of it is, I don't think South Africa is going to shut its doors to skills. The skills are needed, and they know skills are needed, and they know they have to be a leading economy and a leading market if they have to compete. So they are going to open up their skills. You can see that in the banking sector. There are skills from outside of South Africa that are working in the banking sector and in other sectors in South Africa.
All right. So these numbers we're seeing, this growth that we're seeing, do you think it's enough to take South Africa out of recession?
Well, we know from record and from experts that firms, especially small businesses, are the powerhouse of any economic recovery. So as they begin to empower these firms, they begin to make them have access to market, make them improve on their output. We're gonna see South Africa really coming out of recession if they do the right things.
All right, so talking about doing the right thing, South Africa released unemployment figures, I think it was last month, that really have shown that the country is really battling. And we see that the Cyril Ramaphosa administration has worked to keep taxes from not raising taxes when the finance minister gave his speech as well. The president did touch on what he believes vaccine rollouts will do for the economy. But when you bring all these things together, what are we looking at in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year economically for South Africa? They did not raise taxes. Vaccines are rolling out, but not as fast as many people believe, and they still have that staggering double-digit unemployment figure.
Yeah, for us to curb the unemployment, we know that the private sector needs to be empowered. The private sector needs to be given the ability to scale so that they can employ more and create more employment. And if you listen to some of the speeches of the president himself, President Cyril Ramaphosa, he has been focused on how they can scale and increase within that private sector, and then they can create employment. We're going to see in the next 6 months how well they are able to inject some of this capital, some of this projections that they have made into the private sector, and we'll see the scaling. Once we can see the scaling within these firms, especially within the small business, then we're going to see employment grow and the decrease in the unemployment percentage.
All right, thank you so much, Tomi Moyan, Pan-African Media Executive. We look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you so much for having me.